She was stolen from the wild, chained for decades, and forced to perform under bright lights. While no one heard her cry, behind it all stood Mickey Sharps, a ruthless circus owner who saw Mara not as a soul, but as property to exploit. But when a brave 12-year-old girl and a remorseful trainer crossed paths, the tide began to turn. And just wait until you see the moment that left everyone breathless, when justice finally broke through iron chains. When 12-year-old Lily Weston from a small town in North Carolina stumbled upon the video, it wasn't just another sad clip on the internet. The footage showed a frail elephant named Mara swaying slowly on a concrete floor, her massive feet shackled in chains. Her eyes were dim, her body motionless except for the soft, repetitive rocking, a silent rhythm of isolation. The camera zoomed in as she lifted her trunk just slightly, as if searching for something that wasn't there. A caption read, 30 years without sunlight, 30 years without a friend. Lily didn't blink. Mara had been taken from the wilds of Africa when she was just 3 years old, shipped across the ocean, torn from her herd. For over 2 decades, she had known only captivity, a dull gray cage behind the scenes of a traveling circus in Georgia. Her face was once painted with glittering stars. Audiences laughed and clapped as she was made to balance on stools, pirouette, and raise her front legs at the crack of a stick. Off stage, she was silent, shackled, alone. Lily's parents thought her tears were just part of growing up, a sensitive moment quickly forgotten. But that image stayed with Lily, those eyes, that silence. It haunted her. She searched for Mara's name every day after school. She read old articles, watched interviews, and posted comments under forgotten YouTube videos. She discovered that Mara's name appeared in government records from the early 90s, and then vanished. No official trace of her current whereabouts. So Lily started asking questions. She printed out flyers. She brought a clipboard to her school cafeteria and gathered signatures for a petition, one shaky line at a time. She created a TikTok account and posted voiceover clips from Mara's story, set to somber music, with simple captions like, "She remembers the trees." One of them reached 30,000 views in a day. She even wrote letters to her state senator, to wildlife organizations, to talk show hosts. Her voice, once quiet even in class, now carried conviction. And when she asked to speak at her school's parent-teacher night about animal captivity, she stood in front of dozens of adults and read a speech she had written by hand. It ended with a question. What would you do if your dog was chained in a dark room for 30 years? Mara is just as real. The room was silent. Then came applause. But behind every elephant story is someone who knew and walked away. His name was Harold Denson, a former circus trainer who hadn't spoken publicly in over a decade. He was the man who first taught Mara to obey commands. He had led her into the ring, whip at his side. But one night, after a heated argument with circus management about their treatment of animals, he left. For years, he lived quietly, consumed by guilt, unable to speak her name aloud, until he saw Lily's video. Something in her voice, the clarity, the pain, the refusal to look away, moved him. For the first time in 15 years, Harold reached out to the press. He gave interviews, he testified, he shared memories he'd tried to bury, and gave the coordinates of the storage facility where Mara was still being kept in a remote county outside Savannah, far from any official oversight. That's when things got difficult. Mickey Sharps, the longtime owner of the circus and Mara's legal handler, wasn't just a businessman. He had influence in the local agricultural department and knew how to keep things quiet. He claimed Lily's videos were misleading and accused her family of slander. He filed complaints. He even attempted to have her TikTok account removed under technicalities. At one point, strange men began appearing near her school gate. Her parents reported them to the authorities, but nothing stuck. But even with fear at their doorstep, Lily didn't back down. She wasn't just fighting for a cause. She was fighting for someone, for a soul she had never touched, but deeply understood. And somewhere, in a cold warehouse, echoing with silence, Mara was still waiting, while the world argued, animal or property. Lily and Harold drove deep into rural Georgia, following hand-drawn directions to a forgotten warehouse on the edge of Savannah. The building smelled of ammonia, mold, and silence. Inside, the air was thick. Lily squeezed Harold's hand as they stepped into the dark. And there she was, Mara, a towering shadow in the far corner. Her skin was cracked. Her eyes were dull. She didn't move toward them. She turned away, walking to an old rubber tire in the corner, her only comfort. "She doesn't recognize you?" Lily whispered. Harold's voice cracked. "I don't deserve to be recognized." He had been her trainer. He had led her into cages, shows, and fear, but now he dropped to his knees and wept. No words, just guilt. And Mara stood still. The fight to free her wasn't over. Mickey Sharp's lawyers delayed the transfer in court. For a month, Lily posted Harold's testimony online. Millions watched. Celebrities reposted. Pressure built. Finally, the court ruled. Mara could go. Trucks arrived. Chains were gone. Doors were open. But she wouldn't move. She just stood, trembling. Then Harold stepped forward. Gently, he touched her trunk. "You're free," he whispered, "and I'm sorry." A pause. Then Mara stepped out, one foot, then another, toward the sun, and the world held its breath as she walked into freedom. 3 years passed. Lily had grown taller, her voice stronger. Harold, now in his 60s, spent most of his days volunteering at Horizon Haven, cleaning enclosures, guiding school groups, tending to rescued animals. But Mara remained distant. She had grass beneath her feet now, shade trees, soft soil, a sky without bars. And still, she kept to herself. She didn't play, didn't join the other elephants at the watering hole. She stood apart, quiet and still, as if waiting for something that never came. The sanctuary staff said it gently. Emotional wounds take longer than physical ones. Lily, visiting every month, would only nod. "She remembers," she'd whisper, "but she hasn't forgiven." Then came May, the anniversary of her rescue. That morning, Harold returned to the sanctuary. In his hands, he carried something familiar, old, scuffed, cracked around the edges, the rubber tire, the same one Mara had guarded like a treasure in the dark. He didn't say a word as he placed it at the edge of the open field just beneath the tree line. Then he stepped back, far enough to disappear into shadow. Across the field, Mara lifted her head. She saw it. She saw him. Her body froze. Her ears shifted. Her massive frame tensed, and for a long moment nothing moved. Then slowly, her trunk began to tremble. Her foot lifted, one careful step, then another, and then something shifted. Something broke loose inside her. Like a dam finally giving way, Mara surged forward. Not walked, ran. Her 5-ton body thundered across the grass, not with fear, not with rage, but with urgency, as if she'd waited years for this single moment. She reached Harold and stopped. Gently, she lowered her head and placed her trunk, trembling, deliberate, on the top of his head. A sound escaped her. Low, long, almost like a sob. Harold raised his arms and wrapped them around her, the best he could. His forehead pressed to her skin, eyes wet, voice shaking with breath. He hadn't taken in years, but this time he wasn't crying from guilt. He was crying from gratitude. All around them, caretakers, vets, Lily herself, stood still. No one spoke. Some had tears in their eyes. Others simply watched in silence, aware they were witnessing something few ever see. This wasn't just a reunion. It was forgiveness. Mara wasn't just an elephant. She was a soul, a living memory of pain who chose, in her own time, to trust again. And through her, the world saw something rare, that even the largest, most wounded heart can heal, that even those who've been broken can love again, that sometimes all it takes is one person who stays. And from that day on, Mara was never seen alone again.